All right, we are here at the traditional time to start my season retrospective at about 2 a.m. with the
Yeah,
only person who could possibly also put on a suit and join a call with me at this point in time. My good friend Wander has joined me
yeah.
tonight to give a little video retrospective of my season of simvivor here this winter. Um, It's gonna be like a little bit of like a an interview slash just a retrospective. I don't really we're just gonna wing it. We haven't really figured out exactly how it's gonna go yet. We have a little
Yeah, of
outline.
course.
We're gonna send it. It's gonna work. Uh, Honor, do you want to introduce yourself to the nice people?
Hi, I'm Onder. I play this org game sometimes.
Unfortunately,
SSR, yeah, unfortunately, yeah. SSR is okay. I guess he's making FTC again, so that's why we're doing one of these.
yeah,
So congrats to him, I guess. But
I guess
yeah, I'm just so excited to be here and be blessed in the suit at two in the morning.
two in
Honestly,
the
it's earlier than
morning.
the last one we
It
did.
it
So
was the last one was at 4 a.m. This is actually
yeah.
we're ahead of schedule because my roommate was playing League in the living room of my dorm until like 3 in the morning. So I didn't want to like do my video retrospective with him playing League behind me. That would have been awful.
Music in the background,
So
yeah.
I had to wait
That,
until
that
4
would
a.m.
that might have
Um,
added another level, but
um, but yeah. So season 27 of simvivor. I'm here because it's the number 27. 27 is my favorite number. I love it. I won't go into a big amount of detail on that right now because that's a whole other story. But yeah, that's why I wanted to do season 27. So I've always had this one like marked on the calendar, I guess. Trying to figure out. I knew I wasn't gonna play an earlier season, so I knew I was gonna be a new player. And I needed to find a returnee to apply with. There was a couple people who I asked. I wanted to ask Fish, but Fish said he was never playing again, and he's a known org flake. This is a Fish call out post,
yeah,
and
let him know.
he was a jerk. He didn't want to play with me, but my good friend Broyle, he's actually not my cousin. I know this is a massive surprise. We've broken hearts across the nation, I'm sure. Not
Biggest
my
betrayal of the season.
not my cousin. We just both live in New York. We saw Mags and Mags's brother get cast. We're like, it would be really funny. What if we just said we're cousins? And we decided, like, I think during cast reveal, that we're like, yeah, we'll just be cousins. Why not? And then he put it in his first impressions paragraph, and the rest was history.
Oh my God.
But we were at a big meetup over the summer back in like August, and we were both drinking. It was late at night, and I'm like, this is the time to strike. I'm gonna lock in my BVW partner. And I like cornered him in this Airbnb at like probably about this time at about 2 in the morning, and I'm like, Broil, you and me, we're gonna play season 27 of simvivor together, Blood versus Water. Are you in? And drunk Broil was on board. He was committed, and then we were both like, this is an awful idea because we're both super busy, and we both probably don't have enough time to really dedicate to this, so we're not sure how well it'll go. But neither of us wanted to be the coward that was like, "Hey, I need to back out and not apply." So we were both committed because we didn't want to be the coward who didn't commit. And so here we are. Um,
Yeah.
we did get on the cast, shockingly, surprisingly. I'm very happy that we got casted. I don't know if it was close or not, but I hope it wasn't. I hope we were the first people cast.
Top of the list.
Top of the
Sixes across
list.
the board for your apps.
They saw that name SSR. They're like, that man needs to be on this cast.
It's the 27. Get
It's
him
27. It's my
on.
favorite number. It has to be. It has to
Right?
be.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd hope they know at this point. But yeah, we started off. We got on the season. The first round was first impressions, which is they apologized that they had to do the twist because the format of this format of this season is it sure is a format.
Yeah.
We had to write first impressions paragraphs about ourselves, where we just wrote a little introduction like you would to like I don't know joining a club or something, and we all said our hellos except Kelsey on our tribe. Shout out Kelsey. She did not make her own first impressions paragraph, so it just said no response in the under Kelsey for
Oh,
that,
wow.
and so she was near unanimously voted out in first at our first impressions tribal. The other one was the returnees, and they were all trying, so none of them did that. So it ended up in a 2-2-2-1-1-1-1 tie and revote as one does.
Yeah.
Broil thankfully not involved with it, so we were chilling. I really don't know. Like, I understand having to do the twist, but I think what they should have just done is like sent both tribes to a 24-hour tribal, like without having any like just give them their chats and just like 24-hour tribal immediately. I think that would have
Yeah.
worked. I think that would have been fine, and we wouldn't have been like as much of a robbery to like not let us talk to each other.
Yeah, it's a good way to do
And I
it.
think it I think it still would have been a Kelsey boot
Starting
for us. I don't know what would have happened over there because it was a fucking chaos, but I mean,
right.
knowing most of them, it might have just been a Dan boot anyway. Who knows? I don't know what would have changed, but I don't know the Glong dynamics that well that early on, so who knows? But
Yeah.
I know on our tribe, I think it just would have been Kelsey anyways.
Right.
Um, then we actually started playing Survivor, believe it or not, after two people were eliminated from the game.
What you're here for.
We love it. So OG Tadana was like, or Tadana, I don't know how to, I've never watched the season, so I don't know how it's pronounced, and I've been saying it like multiple different ways in my head all
I don't
season.
even know.
I couldn't. I'm not
I've
gonna.
watched this season like
I'm not
four
gonna. I'm
times
not
and
gonna
it's
look
just
it up either.
weird.
So you're getting the pronunciation that you get.
Nice.
Uh, honestly, I really did not enjoy the start of this tribe. Like it was pretty like I don't know. It was really dry. I was having like base level small talk conversations with everybody. Everyone would always love to say good morning. How was your day? I'm like I'm doing the same job I did yesterday, and then I'm going home and smoking weed. Like I promise you, my life is
Yeah.
not interesting enough for you to ask me about. Like please ask me about anything
Yeah.
else.
Every good
Um,
morning you get minus 1,000
I
points.
did a. I
So
was doing chat timeouts. Anytime someone asked me how my day was, I would not respond for like 15 minutes. I would
nice.
block out. I'm like, you get a 15-minute timer, and you're not being responded to until that timer expires.
Oh my god.
Um, on that tribe we had I was just reading about we had Stairwell, Benji, Phoenix, Colby, Adam, Kevin, Sam, and Rain Man in no particular order, just the order that I'm about to talk about them in, I guess. Uh, my good friends Stairwell and Benji, I met them both on this tribe. I think I've watched Stairwell win an org before. Like I've spectated her win an org. I've spectated her in a couple orgs, I think. I don't know anything about like who she is or how she plays or anything going in, but I like watched my friend in an org with her and then she beat him at FTC. Um, we got off on a pretty good foot, and it was like kind of slow early on, but like the more we realized we had like a lot in common with each other, like we're both baseball nerds. We both stayed up until like 4 a.m. every single night, which is, as Onder can attest, a good way to become a good friend of mine.
Yeah, I think that's worked out in
With
my
it
favor in the
within an
past.
org too.
Literally within an org,
You
yeah.
knew the line. Benji was the same, except he went to bed early because he's had a job or something. Actually, he was getting a job. He actually has a job now. He took the job offer. I heard from him. So
Proud of
he's shout
him.
out Benji, got his job. Um, Benji and I clicked really early on because basically when I got tired of like really dry conversations, I just tried to stay like deranged shit in my one-on-ones and see who would like start biting. And Benji was like cackling every time I would do it, and so we locked in pretty early on. We went to the first tribal. Everyone was like on Rain Man immediately. Like no one was doing anything else that tribal. Rain Man
Yeah.
voted Kevin, my teddy bear Kevin. Um,
My teddy bear
my
out the
teddy
gate is
bear.
wild.
He was. I mean, that's what I think of him. That's what I've called him all season. I love Kevin so much. Um, it's a train wreck.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah. So I talked to Phoenix near the start of that tribal, and he was like talking about how Rain Man was like throwing my name out as like someone who was inactive, where basically I had talked to Rain Man and messaged him, and then he didn't respond, and then said that I wasn't talking to him very much. So it was on me, I guess. It was my fault. I apologize, Rain Man. Uh, oh yeah, the Phoenix conversation. So we're talking to Phoenix, and he mentions that, and I'm like talking about how I felt really good with him, and it was like just like a very early on tribal like. He was I think worried about being like really busy at the beginning of the game and like not talking to people too much. And I'm like, nah, you're not someone I want to vote out. You're someone I want to work with. And he like was like, oh, he like latched onto that big time. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like he's like locking in with me now that I was like, I guess those were like the magic words. And he starts pitching like a majority alliance with us. And who is it? Us, Stairwell, Benji, and who was oh Sam and Sam. So I was like our top our 5 person alliance. It was 5 person on a 9 person tribe. Yeah. So it left out Adam, Kevin, Colby, Rain Man. And so I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, we made a majority alliance first. So like, I didn't really have to do much for it. Phoenix was the one pushing it, so he's gonna be the one that eyes are on him for it. Like, cool. Benji and Stairwell are in it, the people I care about. So we're chilling. Um, Colby and I actually found I thought Colby was gonna be my favorite person on this tribe. Like immediately. Like our first conversation, I loved. I was really like close with him immediately, and then everything like kind of dropped off a cliff where I would like I think I remember at one point what I did. I tried to like because they opened up the idol hunt right away early on for both tribes, but like I guess the idol hunts this season you just needed a clue or else I was just an idiot because I quite literally did not. I entered one command into my submissions like episode 1, and then I never entered any other idol command into my submissions the rest of the season. Like I didn't
No.
even bother. I didn't even bother. It was not worth it.
I mean, you didn't
But
need to, clearly, so
exactly, I didn't need
it
it.
takes
But
it.
Colby, I tried to like initiate a conversation about like talking to him about looking for the idol, and he like basically like brushed it off and was like moved on to a different topic immediately and like shut it down, which I was kind of like a little off put by, I guess, or a little put off by. And then we
Yeah.
like basically our conversations just got like gradually and gradually slower, and we were just like we're like small talking mostly. We really didn't like we talked about the Rain Man vote like that like instantly, and then moved on to something else. Like we did not like talk game that much at all. We were just not locking in, and so he was kind of falling off the wayside. Adam on this tribe early on, I don't remember. Like I remember we bonded over being under like bonded over being alcoholics and like loving to drink. And so we were talking about like our favorite drinks together, like open bars at weddings and stuff.
Wow.
Um, but we didn't lock in anyway on a game level because like I like to do a lot on these like early tribes, like especially this one because we had an easy boot the first one, and then we won immunity the next 2 episodes. So like I was not really like talking that much game with anybody. I was just chilling because it was like we're like 10 days into what's going to be like a month and a half season if we make it to the end. Like I don't want
Right.
to burn out talking to everyone nonstop on day like 5. And if we're not going to tribal and we're chilling, we're chilling. And so I didn't really make a lot of game talks with people, but other people were not following that philosophy and they were locking in with each other. And so Phoenix at this point had started like getting into alliances with everybody basically. I think what have I heard? There was an alliance of Phoenix, Sam, and Rain Man on the first episode. There was an alliance
Um,
of Phoenix, Stairwell, Benji, Sam, and then Adam instead of me. They had another combination, I think, with Kevin, Adam, Benji, Phoenix, maybe. There was a lot of alliances. He made a lot of alliances, and Benji fucking windmill slam leaked all of them to me. That king. We love Benji. I would get home from work and he would message me like, "Oh boy, SSR, I've got tea to leak," and I'm like, "Hit me with it." And he's like, "Let's hop on VC," and I'd hop on VC before talking to anyone else, and he'd be like, "Phoenix is a liar. Kevin has the idol. This is happening. That's happening. We need to flip on Phoenix, but." Those are our numbers, and I'm just like, I come back after like doing no talking to anybody for the last 5 hours. I'm like, sounds great, we're gonna do that. It's gonna be great. And then I would like basically like he would just put me on the plan. Like I did nothing to survive this. Like without Benji, without Benji in this game, I am a pre-merge boot in this game, and there's no. This is not happening.
you found the right people to lock in with, I
Exactly,
guess.
exactly. I had a very good amount of luck early on, I'd say.
Yeah.
And Benji was definitely like a lifesaver in terms of like getting me ingratiated with like Kevin and Adam socially. Like I had
Right.
Stairwell, but like Stairwell was like not sticking her neck out for me really, where she was in these alliances, and I told her that I knew about these alliances, and she was still just like, yeah, like he's doing too much. I'll have your back when the time comes, though. And then so we had another tribal, and it was just Yunnan Colby because there were 8 of us left, and we had like a 4 person alliance locked in that we could flip on
Mhm.
Phoenix at the next tribal if we went. But I got home from work that day, and I'm sitting here thinking like that we had 9 people on the tribe, and if we vote out Colby, the next tribal is like a 4-4 deadlock somehow with 8 people. And so I was talking to Adam, And I'm just like really pushing, like, no, we can't do Colby first. We need to flip Colby onto Phoenix. And I'm like, this is what we have to do. And then he's like, but what do you mean? There's 8 people on this tribe, so we have majority now. And I like went back and I recounted. I'm like, oh shit. I got high and I hallucinated a phantom tribe member. And yeah, so I just thought there were 9 people when there was actually 8. And then we're like, oh well, I guess if there's 8, then we could just do Colby. So it was Yuna and Colby. He voted me, so I started to receive my pre-merge votes that I would begin collecting at every other tribal I went to pre-merge.
Nice.
Um, I don't think anything was like massively relevant for that cycle. We like said it's oh, we made the alliance, so we made Adam, Kevin, Benji, and myself as a 4 alliance with the intention of flipping on Phoenix if we went back. So we had that like set in stone that if we went back to tribal, we were doing that flip.
Right.
Next episode, of course, we immediately lose and go back to tribal because why not? I think it was actually the live challenge where I was not in the VC, I was at work. But what I've heard is that Phoenix was like trying to be like the tribe leader and like because it was like a challenge where like you had to submit actions for like these 5 soldiers and you like obviously as they lost lives you had less soldiers to like submit actions for, but it was like you'd submit actions every few minutes, it would resolve, it was like block, shoot, or reload, and then however that works out, and then you submit more actions. And he was like the person in charge of like getting our actions set up. And we were losing, I think, and he would just get increasingly more and more frustrated. And then he was like basically like ranting the actions by asking people in the VC to pick randomly between block, shoot, or reload, and
Yikes.
was yelling at people. This is what I've heard. I was not there; it could be wrong, but my knowledge, my intel was that Phoenix was crashing out on VC, and that just even more contributed to like we need Phoenix to go here. Everyone was just kind of on board for it. But Stairwell and Stam still voted for me. They still voted with Phoenix on me, thinking that it was like Yuna and me. Which Stairwell had an excuse. She had like a significant IRL issue the night that Tribal started, and she was like away the whole time. Like I fully believe like if she was around for the full 24 hours, like I would have been able to talk to her and like flip her, and it would have been like a 5-2. Like it would have been fine, but I didn't push as hard because I knew we had 4 votes. So I knew making it a 4-3, like I'd rather keep it a 4-3 like that I know is solid than like leak to Stairwell and then randomly stuff blows up and it like flips back onto me. Like I didn't want
Right.
the worst case scenario to happen. Um Obviously that didn't happen. I was a little sad that Sam was like I guess like willing to just cut me there early on because I felt like we had a decent connection and we hadn't like been like we I guess we hadn't locked in enough strategically for him to like consider me someone that he needed to keep around. And so after that, I left him out completely. I didn't. Yeah, there was no consideration of telling Sam. And then after the vote, like we talked a little bit, and like I think that was like the main part between Sam and I that like we were able to always like after like we were on opposite sides of something, we always like came back together and like talked it out and like moved forward. It was never like neither of us ever like burned the bridge really. Like I would blindside him or he would blindside me. Actually, it was mostly me blindsiding him. Did he ever actually blindside me? I think it was just me blindsiding him repeatedly.
Wow, one-sided rivalry.
Wait a minute, did he not? No, yeah, because I blindsided him on Phoenix and I blindsided him on the Banjo boot, and I think that was the only 2 times we didn't vote together. Yeah, I guess it was just me. But yeah, so I made sure. I guess I'm not. I mean, it was both ways because Sam was very willing to make nice after each time. He wasn't like on a war path. Well, clearly he wasn't out on a war path for me because it worked out. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was like a weird tribal for me though because like everyone like I knew that I was safe because I knew 3 people were like voting to save me, but everyone outside of talking to me were just all like talking in agreement about voting me at that tribal. There were 3 people on a 7-person tribe that were just fully fine with me going home. Kevin and Adam were like would have voted me if it wasn't for Benji. I feel like Benji was like the the bridge there, and like also just the fact that Phoenix was doing way too fucking much. Like
Yeah.
Phoenix being like aggressively overdoing it in his power position was like also a helpful. I just got very lucky pre-merge really. That's all I can really describe it as. But it was fun. I had a good time on that pre-swap tribe. We swap. Actually, I guess it was only pre-swap. I didn't get lucky on swap. We got to swap. It was me, Banjo, Joey, Stairwell, Sam, Adam, and then 6 people on the other tribe. That I guess what is it? Broil, Flower, Maxi, Sebi, Kevin, and Benji. So those were the swap tribes. We had Sam again, so that meant we should win the immunities. We did win the first immunity, and like that first episode of swap was kind of ridiculous because everyone was just like the activity level just skyrocketed. It was like I talked to people a lot on like the starting tribes, but it was like maybe like a couple hundred messages per episode, maybe like 300 or 400 with Stairwell, like 500 like with Benji in an episode. Then I meet Banjo and we send I think 1,400 messages in the first episode we were together, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, this man won't shut up. He won't stop to, but he like really knew like because they swapped it was like a 4-2 majority for us for like the new players, and then like
Yeah.
Banjo had his loved one Sam, so they were like locked in, and then it was just Joey on his own. And so like you'd think logically if we were going travel lines that Joey would just go. So like they knew they needed to like balls to the wall social. Banjo went so fucking hard, and that's why like he talked to me so much that those first 2 days. Joey and I basically realized that we are like the same person. Like quite literally, we have like the same major in college. Um, same like interest in sports, same like gambling stuff. We're both smokers. It was like and it was like absurd like little details too, where like random stuff would like also match up, and we would just like be going about our days, and I'm like, yeah, I did that as well earlier today. I'm just like, what the fuck? It was too much. It was too much. Like it was nice because it gave me like an easy connection with Joey, an easy connection with Banjo. Like I was locked in with everybody on that swap tribe, and I knew like it was pretty much free as long as like nothing crazy happened. We won the first immunity. Benji goes home on the other tribe. This was a crazy ass tribe. I wasn't there, but I know like everything about it now. Um, Originally, I think the target was. I think well, Kevin always wanted to vote. I've heard like multiple people's perspectives. So like, Kevin always wanted to vote Broil at that vote. I think people wanted. I don't know if people wanted Benji the whole time or if it was so bad. I don't know who the original target was, but how the tribal ended up going was there were votes stacked on Max with the plan of leaking to Matt, votes stacked on Kevin with plans of leaking to Kevin, forcing him to idle him because his idol became public knowledge. Because when Benji was like leaking stuff to me, I guess he was like leaking stuff everywhere because like he would just like everyone just knew Kevin had the idol. I mean, he did get the idol clue from Redemption Island, so it was like kind of like duh, he has the idol. But he like
Yeah.
it was like confirmation that like he actually used the clue and found it. Because I guess what like the merge idol took 2 clues for Sam to find because he didn't have it after the first one. It took like and obviously after you get the first clue, like everyone assumes you have the idol, and
Yeah.
so you kind of do have to like actually find it, which is an important part of it. Um, but when the first meeting, Benji went home, so they 3 people voted Kevin. Kevin idled, and then Kevin was voting Broil, but instead of voting Broil or voting with Kevin, Benji was one of the votes on Kevin. And so 3 votes on Kevin got canceled. Kevin voted Broil, and then Flower and Broil voted Benji out with like a 3-2-1 with 3 negated. Benji comes to redemption saying he idled himself out. That king. Um, the main stuff that happened on like pre-merge Redemption Island, like Phoenix when he got voted out was like crashing out there. And I really just don't understand why people after they get voted out just starts leaking all this shit on Redemption. I'm just like, you got voted out. Like, I don't want to like be mean, but like it's just it's I don't like that like if you get voted out and you're like technically still in the game around Redemption, then you like try to like massively influence the game by just like sharing and pinging like people in the game and telling them everything that like you wouldn't tell them while you were still in the game. It just rubs me the wrong
Right.
way a little bit.
I mean, I kind of get it for the sake of like shaking things up and maybe making things look a little bit different when you
Mhm.
come back. But also, if you're trying to get back into the game,
Mhm.
what are we? Why are we like trying to leak everything and scream at everyone? And you're just gonna
Mhm.
come back and everyone's gonna be like, "You suck for all of that."
Yeah, I'll
So
talk about it more when I get to like the people who did it on jury.
yeah,
But I mean, I mean, the thing with Phoenix is I didn't really care about him doing it because he like his info wasn't correct. And so he was just he was leaking like in he didn't I mean he voted me so he thought I was on the bottom so he like didn't talk anything about me He called Adam like the social center of the tribe and said that he was running everything. Put a big target on Adam's back. Leaked in the redemption chat that Kevin had the idol, so everyone knew Kevin had the idol.
Nice.
And then yeah, he was just basically he. Wait, I'm gonna find his I can switch the recording, I think. Oh no, I'll just find the quote. I don't have to change it. I just want to find his final words where he references me. It was so funny. It's actually really funny in hindsight. Oh wait, no, he left the server. That's not gonna work. How many mentions do I have in Redemption? Only 53. I can find it. Do. We're doing it live. Oh yeah, here's Phoenix's final words. A fucking massive paragraph. SSR, hope you have fun with Broil, but try to up the activity level before FTC if you're looking for the crown. If your work schedule allows it, of course. And then a bunch of like leaking random info about that, just leaking random info that just didn't matter. But like, the guy who got voted, I think he got like what 15th place. I don't remember the exact placements. Oh, I can go to the placements thing. simvivor is so great. It has so many channels that I use actively all the time. 14th place. He got 14th place, and I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. Um, that was the main thing though. Like early in this game, especially like pre-merge and like going into merge, I was just like hella underestimated basically. Nobody like considered me. It was refreshing actually, because like the last times a few times I played orgs, I won Smorgon, and then I played like a bunch of orgs that were like Smorgon adjacent, or like people that like everyone that get involved in it knows that I won Smorgon. So like everyone sees me as like this like massive social threat, even if I'm not actually doing anything, or if I don't actually have as much control as they think I do. The name recognition is just like, oh, he must be in like a better spot than I think he is, and oh, he's not talking to me that much, so I gotta vote him out because he's a threat. None of that happened here because I don't think anyone really knew me, or like the people who did know me were like Banjo and Broil. I think that's it. Oh, and Mags, but Mags got voted out pre-merge. So yeah, there really wasn't like anyone at merge to be like, oh my god, it's SSR. He won Smorgon. He's like really good at this game. Let's vote him out. It was more like everyone was just like taking me at face value. And what they saw as face value was me being, I guess, not that big of a threat because everyone was like, I don't know what the best way to describe it is. Like, Phoenix discounted me a lot, thought I was just an easy vote out. Basically, and then we got to swap, and we went to the second. We were the second tribal of swap, and Adam tried pushing me as a boot to the rest of the tribe after he had swapped, like flipped to save me at the Phoenix boot right before we swapped. And it just didn't make sense to me, like from a strategic level, because I'm like, if you wanted me out, you had the perfect opportunity to get me out back when like I had no power and I was on the bottom, and you were like in the social like center. But then you didn't go for me. You took out Phoenix instead. Then we go to a swap where I'm into a better spot. I have stairwell and I'm locking in with like Banjo and Joey. Now he tries to target me. It just didn't make a lot of sense to me. But we get to merge, and I'm just like, not, I wouldn't say on the bottom, but like the way it worked out, Dan wins back in from Redemption. The guy who got voted out all the way back at first impressions wins every single redemption. What does win every single redemption? But survives every single redemption challenge, wins the final redemption, gets back in the game. Which thank God, because it like invalidated that stupid twist basically, and it made like the first impression, like he got to play merge. Like even though he got voted out from first impressions, he got to play merge. And the other person who got voted out from first impressions, like shout out Kelsey again, thank you for not submitting, but like submitted no response. So like I can't really call her robbed, but it was definitely a robbery in terms of like the twist sucks.
Yeah.
Um, I go into merge, so we've got the three people from OG Tadana, whatever. I don't know. Me, Stairwell, Sam, and Kevin. And we make like our little alliance when we get to merge, and we're like, oh my god, Kevin, like what happened? Why'd you have to idle? And then like we like debriefed all of that. We talked about why Adam went home, and we're basically like, well, shit, now it's four of us, and there's like seven Galang, but one of the Galang is Dan, who got voted out at the first impressions and then was never on the tribe ever and never talked to any of them. So it was like we were all meeting Dan basically. So it was like 6, 4, and Dan. But the way the first cycle went, we basically had just like I basically social game hard as fuck with the people I hadn't talked to before. So like I meet Dan, I was really hyped that Dan got in the game, even though it meant that Benji didn't get to come back, because I wanted Benji to come back, of course.
Right.
But Dan getting back was kind of sick because like he got to play the game, he got to play Merge, and it was like a free agent basically, where like anybody could win him over because he hasn't talked to anyone except the people who got eliminated from the game. And so it was nice to just like talk to him. I had a lot of fun conversations with Dan. Dan's a really nice guy. Um, we would talk about like his job sounds miserable, dude. He works so many hours. He works like you trying to make your D&D schedule work hours. But like
Ooh.
but like but like he just does it because like that's his hours. So I think he just
Yeah.
works like 10-hour days sometimes. It's miserable. Sounds
Felt
awful.
that.
If someone does like the name one fact about each juror question that is so stupid, like I got that on lock, dude. I know all of these people except Sebi. I don't have much on Sebi, but I meet Sebi, which is Benji's loved one from the other tribe. He is like he's like goes to bed like really like he's got European time zone, so I like never not never talk to him, but like my sleep schedule, and when I go to when I like when I go to sleep, so like I'm not like around for most of his day. And then I wake up when it's like 7 p.m. for him, like, hi, Sebi, good morning. And he's like, yeah, I'm like getting ready for bed. So we had, I think, let me pull up I don't have it pulled up, my DM counts. I think I DM'd everyone at Merge at least 1,000 DMs except him. Oh, and
Wow,
Max.
that's
Well, yeah, no, it's him and Max. But he was like the person, like, I was just not actively talking to Kevin. Or to, not Kevin, why do I keep saying Kevin? To Max. Because they're loved ones, that's why, Max and Kevin.
yeah.
Um, yeah, Dan was great. Locked in with Dan pretty early, but we didn't like talk any like strategy early on. It was just like we were getting to know each other, and it was like nice. Max and I had like pretty crazy conversation. I think I drunk texted him during like a super emotional night for me,
What?
like the first night of Merge. And it was like I don't know how it ended up being in Max's one-on-one of all the one-on-ones because I usually like I accidentally ghosted that man so many times this season, but like, the one time I didn't ghost him was at like 3 in the morning drunk while going through like an emotional situation, and so we we had like a really deep talk, and I think that was what his final words to me were about. I could be wrong on that because he said like thank you for this, Nick. You know what this is, and I'm like, what is he talking about? I'm sure. I think it has to be that conversation because I can't think of like we didn't do anything else relevant where we talked to each other in any
Yeah.
context. So like that was like the main thing I remembered from Max was that conversation. I really did appreciate talking to him, and I'm sorry to him that I accidentally ghosted him a bunch, and then I was like, well, now he's like a really convenient boot because I didn't talk to him very much.
Oh
But
man, I feel that.
um, yeah, Sebi we talked about, and then so I got to meet Broyle again. Broyles came back, and this whore. So we got back to merge, and I make her one-on-one. And obviously, like the first thing I was like, so do you have it? Because everyone was like, Broyle has the Galong idol on like Redemption, and I was like, oh boy, my loved one has an idol. He'll tell me if he has an idol. Surely he'll tell me if he has an idol. Like he wouldn't lie to me about that. So like I asked him like, so do you have it? I'm like, oh my god, do we get an idol? And he's like, no, everyone keeps saying that, but I don't have it. I'm like, oh okay, well I guess he doesn't have the idol. I took him at face value, a fool I
Right.
was. And so I asked a couple other times intermittently, but he every time was just like absolutely not. And like if I had it, I would have played it at the Benji tribal because I didn't feel safe at that one. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And I was like, yep, all right, Broyle doesn't have the idol, so someone else has it. Maybe it was like Alexandria getting voted out with it pre-merge, or it doesn't exist, or we all like hallucinated the Galong idol. The Galong idol was the friends we made along our way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really wasn't much talk about the Galong idol at any tribal over the course of this merge. It wasn't like that big of a topic, I don't think. It was only like 3 hours of every fucking conversation. But yeah, the last person that I met for the first time at merge was Flower. And the only other time I ever made it to FTC of an org was Smorgon, and my number one ride or die throughout Merge of that game was Noodle, who was someone who I met at Merge at Final 11 of that game, and we had never talked to each other beforehand, and then we locked in with each other at the start of Merge at F11 and like made it to the end together and made FTC. And this game, my noodle of sorts was Flower because we locked in right away and we're like, this is like the person who was like telling 4 or 5 people that he was their number one. He was
Oh,
like quite literally like promising FTC to every single person in this game. I think he told every single player at Merge that he wanted to go to FTC with them is what he told me.
Oh my god.
This man is a like insane human being. I love him, but he's insane. I think he said himself that he's insane, so he'd back that up. Um, Absolute like social beast, not a challenge beast, unfortunately, but knows what he needs to do, knows who he needs gone, has a very good sense of like who's giving him correct information, who's lying to him. Amazing player. I lock in with him pretty much immediately, and it was scary because like this is the person who has been telling everybody like he's their number one, he's their number one, he's their number one, but like he's on VC with me every night until 4 in the morning. He's not VCing anyone else. Like it's not like he's only VCing me one. Like he's VCing me
Right.
every single night from like midnight to 4 in the morning. Like this is he's only talking like it was like we were locked in. Like there was no
Yeah.
like we still had I think almost 8,000 DMs, which is I think the second most I've ever messaged anybody after Noodle in an org. It's Noodle 1 and Flower 2 in terms of Noodle DMs, but I did not VC Noodle even once. And I think if I counted it up with Flower, we're definitely over like 40 hours at this point of like VC time throughout this merge.
Yeah, you
Um,
got a whole paycheck for that one.
we did. I worked a 9 to 5 in Flower's DMs. Um, he was I don't know, it was absolutely amazing playing this game with him. We locked in immediately. We always talked through every single vote together. I probably won't go into much detail through each vote about my discussions with him, just because like I told him everything, he told me almost everything, and I feel like that's the one thing I was like, if I made it to FTC against Flower, I was like, I don't want to mention anything that he told me in any of my like speech or like answers to questions because I don't want him to be able to be like, yeah, I actually lied to you about that. That wasn't true. I made that up to get like, and I was like, I totally think that some of the things that he said to get me to do things were lies. And I'm just like, I can't bring any of that up in my FTC because I'm like, some of it had to have been a lie. And I'm not going to be like, I targeted you because I knew this thanks to Flower. And he's just like, yeah, I made that shit up. But no, it was like yeah, we worked through every single vote together. I told him he knew who I was voting at every single tribal. I knew where he was voting at every single tribal but two, and yeah, that was basically how that went. We get to the first tribal. Flower fucking wins immunity. Pigs flew at merge immunity. It was impressive. I did not win immunity. I never won immunity actually. Spoiler alert.
Wow.
None of the immunities will be me. Um, well, there's like except for a technicality, but none of the immunities will be me. The first tribal, so it started at. It was actually the night that I had that conversation with Max. It was the same night because I only got drunk once. It was Friday night. I went out drinking and bowling with my good friends Fish, Quiz, and Bui. This is still a fish call out post though for not playing with me
Um,
though. So no love for Fish.
no for fish. You said
But
friends, and I was like, you named fish first? Yikes. I don't know.
well, you know, friends like,
There you go. And then Quiz and Bui.
and then Quiz and Pui, great good friends. But yeah, so we go bowling and there's an open bar like right at the bowling alley, and we have our good friend the American Hero who pours like triples when you order a drink.
Holy
And
shit.
so I tip that man up and he fills it with like 3 4 shots each, and we had like enough drinks at the 2 hours of bowling. Well, I think we basically like I would have like a drink per like game, and we were there for 2 hours. You can figure out how long a game of bowling a round of bowling is. Like it's a good amount. And so I get home and
Yeah.
I'm feeling it a little bit, and I don't like basically talk to anyone that much that first night. Actually, we did an Edgic VC together for my org for Prime Memes that
Oh my
night.
god.
So you actually remember what I was like because you were on that VC, right?
Yeah, I think that was one of the only Edgic VCs I was a part
So
of.
you
So,
know what I my condition seemed like at the time
yeah.
that night, and so
Uh,
that was Merge Tribal. That was the first
oh,
night of Merge Tribal, and so yeah,
bless Joe for coming up with that. Oh my
not a
god.
lot of strategic talk that night. I go to bed I think at 5:30 in the morning, if I remember correctly. Wake up at like noon or one. My work starts at 3. So I have like 2 hours to talk to people about tribal before leaving for work, and then deadline for tribal is like 2 hours into my shift. Flowers telling me the only name out is stairwell, And I'm like, well, that's not fucking great because I just locked Stairwell in as my ride or die going into merge because I lost Benji. And I'm like, my new ride or die is not Flower yet, is Stairwell. And Stairwell and I are locked in. I need Stairwell to get to the end with me. And the first vote, everyone's just like, yeah, we want to vote Stairwell. I'm like, fuck. And we tried to flip it because the only other name that got pushed, which was really stupid, it was a stupid merge boot because I didn't have any time to discuss it because I was drunk the first half and then I was at work the second half. It was Dan against Stairwell. We were trying to push Dan, the guy who just came back from Redemption and had done nothing, as the merge boot. And I'm just like, what? Like, there has to be a better plan than this. And no one ever threw another name, so we quite literally, the four OG Tadana voted Dan. And then I didn't have time to like convince. We had Broil potentially on board, Joey potentially on board, and Sebi potentially on board to like flip it onto Dan. Broil had said he was down and had submitted a vote for Dan, but Flower was pushing hard to get Stairwell out because they were scared of the big scary 4-person alliance of OG Tadana when they had a fucking 6-person tribe plus Dan going into merge. So they were little crybabies, and they were like, we need to get rid of Stairwell. And it was Stairwell, I believe, because one, she was like inactive going into merge, and two, the other three of us each had our loved ones still in the game, and her loved one went pre-merge. So there was like no one on that side to like have her back the same way that we had someone on that side. There was also, it didn't really start until the next vote, but I guess it kind of starts coming in here is like the winners alliance, where 4 former winners got cast for this season: Broil, Flower, Joey, and Banjo. And they were all on merge, and now they after the stairwell boot, they were all at final 10. And so people are like, hey, wait a minute, why are we letting all the winners get deep into this game? That's probably not a good idea. And I knew I wanted to get deep into the game with at least one, if not both, of Broil and Flower. And also Joey had been like pretty good with me, so I'm just like, I need Banjo to go soon. One, because he was like active as hell with me on that swap, and then after we got to merge, he like stopped talking to me entirely. Like he like we like talked here and there for like a couple hundred, but as soon as we got to merge and he had like other people to strategize with, I was out the window. I had 1,400 messages with him in that first episode, and by the time he got voted out, we were still under 2,000.
Yeah.
So like it was
Damn.
3 more episodes, we didn't hit 600 total in those 3 episodes. What I had said at the time was basically like I knew Banjo's ass was playing the game. I knew he wasn't just sitting there doing nothing, but he was not playing the game with me. He was not strategizing in like any chats that involved me. He was in alliances I wasn't in and making decisions there that he would then bring to me. And he was counting on me a lot to be like an extra number for Broil and Sam. They actually made at F10. They made an alliance where basically Broil messaged me like Banjo looking to make an alliance of our pairs. And then like 5-10 minutes later, I get pinged with the alliance chat being made, and like nobody actually ever came to me to consult me on making the alliance. They just made the. But it's the funny thing is that the alliance was literally Banjo, Broil, SSR, Sam, and so Banjo made the alliance of the F3 and him, and then like he made it like during that tribal. So like I voted him out during that like during the tribal that he made that alliance. We left out Broil and Sam. Sam because it's like the obligatory leave the loved one out of the partner's vote. Broil we left out because he was super close with Banjo. He would have leaked to Banjo, even though I guess it wouldn't have mattered because he had the idol and Banjo didn't. But oh, spoiler alert! Oh my god, I didn't mention it yet. I ruined it. The surprise.
No.
It's shock and all. It's over. Anyways, but and also just because like I wanted to like give him like a little slap on the head basically because the start of merge and like into that second vote, he was kind of just like taking me for granted where he would be like, "Oh, like who do you want to vote?" And I'd be like, "I want to vote this person." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm down for that." And then like right at deadline, he's just like, "Actually, I want to vote Stairwell instead because I don't want Flower and Joey. I want to keep on like Flower and Joey's good graces and not rock the boat." Blah blah blah. He was basically playing passively, and like I understood it, like it was fine, but like he was very much taking me for granted that I would just like go along with whatever they wanted and not like I don't know, not push anything on my own basically. And so not Sam so much. Sam was like talking to me a good amount, but it was like the other two I just knew were like going behind my back. I knew Sam was involved in it and not like telling me the full story basically. But it kind of worked though because we get Banjo out. It was a 7-3 on Banjo, where Sam, Broyle, Banjo were the three. The start of the year, we don't have any Yunnan votes for a while here. Everything's gonna be some sort of split. Um, Banjo goes complete blindside. He did not know it was coming. He was paranoid about it, but like he was not like he did not know for sure he was going. Yeeted him out of there. It worked really well because it kept me on like the side of the non-winners, like the returnees that hadn't won, and like the new players that we were like, yeah, we got out a winner, like gung ho, like we're on that side. And I locked it in. I made an alliance with Dan and Sebi at this point because I was like, the three of us are like sort of the underdogs out of this final nine, where like there's the three winners, then there's like, I mean, even I wanted to involve Kevin in it as well, but then you had like uh Sam and Max. Yeah, Sam and Max were kind of like not winners, but not on like the bottom. Like they had decent connections, and I had Kevin like either or. I kind of wanted Kevin to be involved in the group, but they didn't seem to like Kevin very much, so I kept it to just the three of them. And we were like basically like the underdogs that were like fighting back. And I wanted my perception to be like I'm part of that group. I'm part of that bottom three. I don't want to be like, oh, SSR is the +1 for Broyle in the Winners Alliance. Like, oh, he's just gonna vote with them because blah blah blah. So I tried to like, it was the winners, because the Winners Alliance was Flower, who didn't have a loved one anymore, Joey, whose loved one was gone, and then Broyle, who had me. So you could very
Yeah.
easily point it to it and be just like, oh, it's like SSR is the +1 and he's going to vote with them. And I'm like, well, I don't want them to think that. So I voted out a winner with them. I blindsided Broyle on it. And so now going into Final 10, or going into Final 9, everyone thinks Broyle and I aren't that close because I like distance myself a ton. I've talked about how like I'm going to prioritize the people that I'm actually working with in the game and not my loved one. And I was like very much just like pushing that perspective of like we're not talking that much. I left him out of this, like we're not strategically aligned. And basically after that vote, I immediately ran to him after the banjo boot and was like, all right, now we need to lock in because everyone thinks that I don't care about you, and when you get targeted, I'm gonna get told. And lo and behold, at F9 he gets targeted, and they
Yeah.
tell me that they're voting Broyle. They're like, we want to vote out Broyle. We're gonna vote Broyle. Are you down to vote Broyle with us at Final 9? Which I'm like, it's kind of crazy to think. Like, I mean, I did like very much reassure them for like 4 days that I was cool with it, but I'm like, even so, you're still telling me about this was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to do, we was talking a lot with Flower during this. I guess we'll go like I touch on like the strategic talks with him, and I guess it becomes super relevant. But we talked about everything. So there was a bunch of talks about the banjo vote that we had. We were talking about banjo the whole time we were doing that in lockstep. That setting that up was mostly him, but I definitely had a good talk with Sebastian, where we had worked out through talking out winner, and that's why the Dan Sebastian alliance formed, because I locked in a lot with Dan and Sebastian during that cycle of like we need to like push up against these winners, we need to rise up, and we need to have like a threat purge kind of thing. But then I knew, actually that's after F9, but then going into F9, I wanted Max because, like I said, I'd been accidentally ghosting. We only messaged like 300 times through 3 episodes of Merge. Like I was not talking to him that much. We were not like connected much on a strategic level. And there was this like Max and Kevin were trying to do the same thing as Broly and I, where they were like acting like not that close to each other, like outwardly, but like secretly they were like actually apparently trying to work with each other. But then also Max wanted to vote out. I don't really know. I got told both stories. Maybe Kevin was telling the truth and they weren't close, because that's a Flower story, so that could be wrong. I realized that my source on that was Flower, so
Yeah.
it could have been some Flower bullshit. But I wanted Max gone first because I felt closer to Sebi. Flower wanted Sebi first and then Max. I'm like, I want Max first because I know I have a strategic connection to Sebi and I can like at least maneuver there to like not be his target. With Max, I feel like he could just target me whenever he wanted to. The distancing worked because I knew everyone was on Broil, so it ended up being three on Broil. The last vote, the Banjo's target was Joey, so there was 3 votes on Joey. And then for Max, we had the 6-3. We had Sebi was in the know. He knew that Max was getting voted, but he tried to push really hard for it to be Broil. Um, we had Kevin, who was obviously the obligatory don't tell the loved one that the partner's getting voted out, and then Max himself. Um, Flower and I basically we talked it through, and I was like, I wanted Max first, and I was like, he was like, if you want Max first, like you got to do the legwork on it. Like I'm not gonna push that for you. You have to go get the votes. So I went to Sam because very early in the tribal people were like we were having a conversation in the alliance chat with me, Sam, Kevin. like the Tadana that were left, and we were talking about who to vote out, and basically Dan was not Dan, Kevin was like it was all Broil, and basically I thought it was like could be close to like Yunnan Broil, and he was presenting that as the only option there. And then I go privately to Sam, and I was just talking about how like I'm pretty sure like there's a line for us to save Bro, because I knew he was just close. He was close to Bro, because the previous vote when we blindsided them, the two people that voted together were Broil Sam, obviously, and then we voted out Banjo. So like obviously he doesn't want to see Broil go out right after that, and so he was down to flip it. He also preferred Max as the boot, which was nice. And so then that was me, Sam, Broil, Flower. So we only needed one more. Joey was also down, but I got Dan on board by talking with him outside of the Sebi alliance because Sebi wanted Broil really badly. Probably people just wanted Broil out as like really badly early on. I'm just like, I don't understand why. He's just sitting there. Like he's not. he
Yeah,
wasn't.
he's hanging out.
He wasn't making any like crazy strategic plays. He wasn't like socialing out of his mind. He was just tryharding the challenges and like he had won a past season of simvivor. And so
Right.
therefore he must be a threat.
That's got to be so weird because you're being viewed as like UTR for the first time like ever in
Mm-hmm.
years, and now this Broil guy who's actually being UTR is
Exactly.
getting all the attention.
Well,
Just
yeah,
like, wow,
because
that's great.
you won an org, and that means you're always a threat no matter what because of
That
the
means you're great at the game
the
every time.
placement. I don't fucking know, dude. It was so ridiculous. But yes,
I'll never
so
get it.
Max gets voted out. Oh, Dan. Yeah, Dan was super on board. I talked to Dan privately from the Sebi Alliance, and Dan also like preferred Max over Broil, which was really good because that was like I think clutch in making sure that like it didn't blow up on me. Because if I had to blindside all of Dan, Kevin, and Sebi on that vote, I think I would have been in a little bit of hot water in terms of like repairing relationships moving forward. But Dan being on the same side for that one made it nice because like I knew he was. It was like 5 out of the 9 or 5 out of the other 7 who would be left were in on that vote, and it was just Kevin who it was like the obligatory loved one thing, and then Sebi who we did tell about it. Like he knew that the vote was happening, he just didn't vote with us on the vote, so it was like easier to manage going into final 8. Then at final 9, that's when actual Redemption Island started because there had been 3 merge boots now, and so they open up the Redemption Island arena for jury,
Oh man.
where every single voted out juror who is yet to be eliminated from Redemption Island gets a public 24-hour channel during each challenge where they can just send whatever messages they want for a full 24 hours, ping players that are still in the game and
Oh, oh,
tell them game information. I know I've described this to you. I'm repeating it for the video. That it
yeah,
basically
yeah.
felt like if it was like the real show. I haven't watched the real show, so I don't know what it was like. But I assumed that the island was like separate from the actual
They
merge
did not.
island. And
Yeah, they did
so,
not have a
but the
megaphone that
way
they
the
could
way
yell
it's been
into.
set up is that like it was like 1,000 feet out from camp. There's like a raft with all the jurors that haven't are on Redemption Island left, and they all have a megaphone, and they can just yell shit at us through the megaphone. But they can't hear us. We
Yeah.
can just like flip them off and hold up signs at them from the camp,
Yeah.
and it was really dumb. But thankfully it didn't get as bad as I was worried it would at the beginning. Basically, Max came on there, said a bunch of final words to everybody. He was very nice to me, so I didn't have to deal with any severe backlash. This was the beginning of everyone being really mad at Flower. So like basically everyone get to redemption, I'd be like, Flower, you were the most horrible, disgusting human being. I can't believe you would lie to me like
Oh
this.
my
And me
god.
just sitting there like, it's like I don't know. This is not my problem. I'm not worried about that. That's someone else's mistake.
Yeah.
Um, but we do. Then Max says his spiel was leaking. I don't remember a bunch of stuff. He leaked some random information. I don't think it ended up becoming relevant. But I was worried. I'm just like, when I vote out Sebi at 8, I'm like, this man is gonna just be so mad about me just turning on him, and he's gonna be like, this guy's playing all sides, blah 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 blah. I was really worried about Sebi getting voted out and just being like, SSR tried to like pretend to be part of this bottom of the tribe alliance where we're flipping on the winners, but instead he just took out the winner he wanted and then flipped back. I thought he was just gonna call me out for all my shit, and I'm just like, I don't know how I vote out Sebi at 8 without having him crash out at me. And we go through the vote. That was kind of like we get to 8 and Flower's starting to get targeted like hardcore. Like everyone, like not Dan VC, Kevin VC'd me and told me he wanted Flower gone. Like Flower has to be the next boot. There was a portion of time where one night was on like a Spotify jam listening to music with Flower for like 2 hours. Then I stopped listening to music, joined a VC with Kevin, where we talked exclusively about voting Flower out, and that was like
Oh,
the main plan that we pitched. And then I hopped off that call with Kevin, and then I VC'd Flower again for like 3 hours before going to bed. It was a little disgusting how I mean the VC it wasn't I didn't go crazy on the VC meta, but I did like VC more people than I usually would. Like I VC'd Flower a lot.
yeah.
I VC'd Kevin 2 or 3 times, and they were all like pretty significant conversations. The Flower one I felt the most bad about because like he asked me to VC, and I'm like I feel really bad saying no to game VCs when I'm like able to join them because I feel like it's just a net negative to say no to a VC. And so even
Yeah.
though I wasn't like planning on being on board with him with that vote, I didn't want to like trust tell him and be like declining a VC and have him think something's going awry and like clock it. But it ended up being fine. We ended up working out. But he wanted Flower bad. Sebi obviously wanted Flower bad because he was mad about Flower going behind his back on the Max boot because he really wanted it to be Broil and Flower was telling him it was going to be a Broil boot until he flipped. Um, Broil, after getting targeted, everyone just kind of forgot about him for a round, and he just got to chill. This was the point. I think every immunity for the rest of the game was Sam's from here on out, except for one. And so yeah, Sam started winning him at final 10, so he's won 3 immunities in a row now when we get to 8.
Oh my
And
god.
from this point on, Sam is never eligible to be voted at a tribal. He either wins immunity or plays an idol. So there was actually no point for the rest of the game at which Sam could be eliminated, even though we tried, we wanted to. There were plans made, but they were never able to be executed. Uh, is there anyone else I need to talk about for this vote? I don't really think so. Oh, Dan, because so Dan was also on board with the flower boot and he wanted it hard, and I was like, I really don't think I could convince Dan that it's a Sebi boot and like that makes any sense to him because we have an alliance with Sebi, and I've like kind of pigeonholed myself into like lying to him because it's an alliance of 3 at final 8. Telling him to like stab at I guess it might have been fine. I don't know, but he very much wanted to go well, take out a winner first. Then we could always flip to the winners and vote out like Sebi and Kevin. Like it made sense. Like he was making logical points. Like the people that I voted against were making smart and logical decisions. I'm just like if I do that, I lose, and so I needed to like lie to them and do other plans because I needed Flower there to be a shield. Like if Flower got 8th, I was never making it to the end of this game. Like I don't have like the ability to survive like the tribals I did without knowing that Flower had my back, even though I knew that I had to get him out before the end. So I couldn't do him at 8. The only real correct decision I think in my mind, and also it was to keep Broil happy because Broil had just been targeted by Sebi and Kevin, and I'm like, well, I have a closer connection with Kevin, of course. So if I'm gonna pick one of them to go out, it has to be Sebi. And then we get to the vote, and I'm just like, how do I vote this guy out without him crashing out at me at not FTC at Redemption Island and like leaking all my shit? And what I settled on was like, oh, I'm gonna pretend that it was an emotional decision about something that I'm blatantly wrong about because people love correcting people when they're wrong. And so I wrote on my parchment, I just wrote at the bottom, I put Sebastian and I wrote for stairwell with a heart.
Oh my god.
And so he was so thrown off by seeing for stairwell on a parchment that he was like that's all he talked about with me on redemption was like I don't know why you wrote for stairwell. I don't know if you thought I was like the person who pushed that, and I know he wasn't. Like I know at worst he was like
Yeah.
the third or fourth person to be blamed for that vote. But I'm like, if you're gonna talk about that instead, like I'd love to hear you talk about my fucking parchment as
Yeah.
opposed to he did leak that I made the alliance, but like it kind of got brushed over and no one cared and no one ever talked about it again. But like, it's like
Nice.
for the most part, like I dodged what I thought could be the worst thing for my game, which was Sebi going to Redemption Island and blowing my full fucking game up at like Final Seven. But as he didn't, and then we get to Final Seven. Final Seven was the only vote for this entire game at Merge that I didn't know before tribal results where everybody was voting correctly. At every other tribal this game, I before votes were read could tell you exactly who everybody was voting and be correct. Final Seven was not the case. It was when we got like we're managing the blind side afterwards, so like Kevin was left out of now back to back votes in a row by Sam and I, and so he was rightfully pissed off because like
Yeah.
how do you expect to be an F3 with somebody when you're just lying to them every single vote? Like we had it coming when he starts to like realize he needs to turn on us here. I started to think a lot about like my position in this game, like where I was going, how I was getting from 7 to the end, because we got me, Flower, Broyle, Sam, Kevin, Dan, and am I losing my mind? Me, Flower, Broyle,
Yeah. Joey,
Sam,
right?
Joey. Wow. Oh yeah, but you know what? I forgot to talk about Joey for a while now, actually, because Joey he fucking dipped for his internship at Merge, and so he was like way less active as well during Merge, and this was basically the point in time where like he became Flower's right hand man. And so Flower was locked in with me, and we were ride or dies. We were number ones. But then he also had his number one simp, Joey, who would always do whatever he wanted. And so he knew he always had both of us, and he would like get us to work together on these votes. And Joey was so fucking irritating to deal with during those votes because I know that we're both working with Flower. He knows that we're both working with Flower. It's not some like massive conspiracy secret that we're both working with Flower. But every time we'd get to these tribals and talk about these votes, he's like, "Hey, are you hearing anything for tribal yet? I'm about to go." I'm like, "Dude, we both know that Flowers told us the same shit. I don't want to do this song and dance with my allies." And it got really. I was like trying to get him to stop playing dumb at multiple votes, and he wouldn't drop the act. It finally got better eventually. Like after we got later on, it was fine. But like this beginning of merge, I was getting frustrated about how like he would not just explicitly tell me things, and he always had to be like, "So are you hearing anything for tribal yet?" And then like ask me to like explain to him what's going on. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, like I knew that I think I probably had a better case at the end than Joey at that point. So I knew I didn't need him out per se, but I knew that like as a he was an extension of Flower's control. So like I couldn't just let Flower get all the control and like control the end game because then he might actually make it to the end and then I'd be fucked. So we knew Joey needed to be out at some point, but it wasn't like an urgent like right now situation. I think we wanted him out at 6 was what we wanted Joey to go. At 7 we really wanted it to be an easy Dan boot because if we could get a Dan boot and get an F6 of me, Broyle, Sam, Flower, Joey, and Kevin, there's really no group of 4 people that should ever turn on me there. And then it was probably going to be because that was when Flower wanted to target Sam every single vote, but then we'd get to every single tribal and Sam would have immunity again. And then the redemption duel winner gets to pass somebody in the game at idle, and Banjo won the first 2 duels. So obviously he just sent the clues to Sam for the merge idol. So Sam gets the merge idol as well. Actually, he didn't actually get the merge idol until F6. He told me it took him 2 clues and like Broyle's help after he gave up on trying to find it himself to actually get it. Um, at Final 7 though, I realized I'm like what I probably need to go for. I definitely need Flower out at fourth because Flower needs to be fourth place. He can't beat him at the end at this point. He had been like too in the know, and he had been the only time he had voted wrong was because at the first tribal he forgot to submit a vote and self-voted while he was immune. And it's actually still the only strike of the season. Congratulations to Flower for
Good job,
receiving the
Flower.
single strike of the season. Another on your list of awards for this game. Um, but I knew we needed to get fourth. I knew the people I was the least likely, or the people that were the least likely to want to take me to FTC were Dan, Joey, and Kevin, which, if you've done the math, leaves Sam and Broyle. And I'm like, okay, well, that's probably the F3 I need to play for. I need to play it for it in a way where I'm better than them at the end. And I knew that I could always be seen as um the decision maker between Broyle and I if I was the one who like was taking the lead and pitching the things. So at Final 7, I go to him. I was the only person all season to get to VC Broyle because this man is anti VC. And I told him, I'm like, I need to lock in with this man because we didn't talk strategy that much over the course of this season. Like, he was not my most DM person. I don't even think he was a top 3 DM person for me on this season, and he was never the number 1 for me on trust. Like we were always like kind of locked in, but it was like we were never fully locked in. So I wanted to have like a lock-in VC and be like, I want to go to the end with you. I think the best way for this to play, I think most fun thing for me would be to make it to the end of the game with you. Let's lock in. Let's figure out a path. And I told him basically, I leaked to him that Flower had been my number one threat all merge because he had obviously watched me and Noodle, so I was just like, it's a me and Noodle situation, and he kind of understood what that meant.
Yeah.
And we were like locked. I told him about all that, and I was like, I think I was. This was the part where I was most wrong on, where I thought they were gonna go after him because this. I thought they were gonna go after him at 7, but or at 6. I thought we were gonna go after Broyle at 6. So I was telling him like we're probably fine here, and then at 6 we will need to like um scramble and try to flip it. I wanted to flip it onto Joey because we still agreed that Flower needed to get 4th because at that point we were neither of us were like considered like a significantly bigger threat than the other. And we both were like, we can do talk as if like, we can both get to end and like have an even fight. So like wanting Flower gone in 4th was agreeable for us there. We worked backwards, and I think we had talks about the final 5 vote, but this was another night that I was drunk for that VC too, so I don't actually fully remember the Broil VC. It was I did play myself. Actually, both times I got drunk during tribals, I voted wrong. Those are the only 2 times I voted wrong at merge when I got drunk during tribal. It must have been a sign. But what actually happens at 7 is Kevin, Dan, Flip with Joey and Flower. All 4 of them vote Broil in 7, and I realized it kind of right away, where I was just like, this is a little bull. And Dan had come up to me right before deadline and asked if I was voting him, and so it was quite clearly like set up. And that was like I guess my low point in the game probably was right after that vote, where I'm like, I got fully blindsided. My ride or die left me out. Obviously, it's the obligatory don't tell the loved one about your partner getting voted. But it hurts more when it actually happens to you. Like when it happens to other people, they're just like, deal with it. Like it's your loved one. Like it's obvious. Like
Right.
obviously we're gonna leave you out. But then it happens to me, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like you told me last time. Like why didn't you just tell me again? I would have been fine. But
Yeah.
Flower had like was dead convinced that Broyle had the idol. I was dead convinced that Broyle did not have the idol. And so they were playing around his idol, correctly playing around his idol by not telling me. Obviously, I don't leak to him. He doesn't idol. What I would have done though, if they had told me, was I would have told them. If I would told Flower like point blank, I'm like, if you vote out Broyle, I'm gonna swap with him on redemption and bring him back. Like I would have told him that, but obviously he didn't. He didn't tell me it, so I didn't get to threaten that. But then I'm sitting there, I'm pissed off. I'm fuming in my seat, right here in this seat actually. And I'm just
Let's
like,
see.
I did not. It was not premeditated at all. It was not a decision that I went into the org. Well, I kind of like I thought about it. I've told the people in this game after all that happened. I was like, I did it because I told myself I was either gonna vote Broyle out or switch with him on redemption. And since he got blindsided, since we both got blindsided on his vote, I didn't get to vote him out. So I had to switch with him. Was my
Your hand was
my
forced.
hand was I couldn't do anything else. But no, what really happened is I was just pissed off at Flower, and I was like, why the fuck? Like obviously, like it was deserved. Like it was correct. It was a correct play by Flower. I can't fault Flower on any front about it. But I'm like, it set up the late game where it was the final 6 where there was no Broyle now, so it was Dan and Kevin both there, me and Sam, and then him and then him and Joey. And I was like, very much like I didn't think I had the control anymore. Like I didn't think I could be the one pushing like the next couple votes. I didn't think I could like set up anything. I thought my best path to the end when I looked at that 6 was just do whatever Flower wants and then get to FTC and be Flower's goat. And I'm like, I don't really want to play that out. Like I don't want to play another week and a half of this game where my best chance is getting second place. And so I was annoyed. I was like basically everyone but Dan. Dan typed like some random like one word message, but Kevin, Joey, and Flower all sent me like what I assumed to be pre-typed apology paragraphs because they were all sent like paragraph long "Hey, sorry for voting out Broyle" messages like within like
Oh,
5 to 10 minutes of tribal ending, and I'm just like, and all of them are basically like, yeah, we just didn't want Broyle and Sam together at Final 6. And I'm like, well, be careful what you fucking wish for because everyone everyone forgot. No one ever considered the play that I could make. No one was ever like, oh, well, if Broyle gets voted out, SSR can switch with Broyle because no one ever would think of that. And
yeah.
I'm just sitting here, I'm like, I'm annoyed. I'm burned out on this game. I think the burnout was starting to kick in at that vote out because I'm just like, I have to like, I knew that I had to keep lying to people to get to the end, and I knew that like it became increasingly more incorrect to keep me in the game the more that I was like getting to be in the know on these votes. So I knew that like the farther I got, the more I would have to like lie and like hide my threat level and be like fake with people. And I just thought going into that final six that if I had stayed, my best path would have been to play for second, and I didn't want to do that. And so I knew Sam had voted with me, and I knew that it didn't make much of a difference to Sam's game personally whether I was there or Broyle was there. Like we were both gonna hardcore work with him no matter what. It didn't fuck over Sam, but it fucked over Flower hardcore because I knew that like he needed me. It fucked over Joey because Joey's biggest fear was those two at final six, and it fucked over Kevin just because Kevin had been telling me all season how badly he wanted Broyle out, and like he was like dying to vote out Broyle. It was his third time voting Broyle. He finally got him, and I'm like, nope, psych, pull him back into the game.
Get back in there.
Head off to redemption. I put on a little theatrics. I'm like, my favorite Survivor player is Rupert. It's been a little boring on Redemption ever since the people who were leaking tea got eliminated because like Max showed up to Redemption, immediately lost. Sebi showed up to Redemption, immediately lost. So it was still like the first two merge boats just chilling at Redemption with like having no game info and nothing to talk shit about and just vibing. So I swap on to Redemption now. And I was in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm never winning 3 duels in a row. Surely Broyle won't switch back with me. Who would do something like that? So I'm stuck here. I'll probably lose a redemption battle. I'll probably go to jury. It's okay. I made a fun play. I'm happy with it. Hopefully it screws Flower over. They show the redemption challenge and it's 24, which is a math challenge, which I'm amazing at math. I love math. I love 24 as a challenge. I've done that in orgs multiple times. When you make 24 a challenge in an org, you kind of need to make the target number not 24 because I've had so much practice with 24. Like it's not fair. Like you got to make it a different target number. So you actually have to like think about how to like combine because you need to like combine to 6 and 4 or 8 and 3 or 12 and 2 or like those kind of like different combinations.
All the
If you make a new target number, you have to like learn how to make those numbers again, and it becomes
Yeah.
more than just like second nature, second nature. But anyways, they didn't do that, so I got first place, and I got to give out the idol clue. And since Banjo had just given the idol clue to Sam every single time, like it'd be really funny to just not give it to Broyle and just also give it to Sam. And so I also gave it to Sam, and then Broyle reacts to the message that I gave the idol clue to Sam with like the middle finger react.
Yeah.
Um, I get to this was actually the most interesting part about going to Redemption though was that after the challenge during their tribal, I got to have a private one-on-one with Banjo. And it was basically like the way it actually worked in the context of the game. It was basically like I got to have a one-on-one with a juror for a cycle because that's how it ended up working out. But obviously, in that context, I was talking to him as well. Only one of us ever gets back into this game because we're both at redemption. There's no other way to get back into the game. So there's no worry about us both coming back into the game. So I'm just like I'll tell you whatever I want. I'll leak whatever I want. And he just mostly wanted to know like the minority vote totals for each vote because they were kind of like they never got to talk privately to anyone but each other stairwell and banjo, so they didn't know about it, like the ins and outs of those tribals. So I laid that all out for him. We talked a little bit about dynamics and stuff, and he had basically said a lot like I talked about a lot about the reasons why I voted him out personally, and he was like, honestly, you kind of clocked me on that, like fair enough with like the whole playing the game without me and everything, and he's taking me for granted. And what stuck with me from that conversation was that he told me that he had his opinion on me had gone up a lot from talking to me during that like one of my like before I went to redemption he wouldn't have considered voting me over even like Dan or Kevin who were kind of considered like that bottom tier of the final six where it
No.
was like Dan, Kevin, Sam, Broyle, Joey, Flower up here. And yeah, so I he had me at like the very bottom, and I'm like, I had moved up his power. I mean, obviously I'm at FTC with Sam. I don't have any like illusions of anything happening there. But what I hope happens is that he took what he gained from talking because I told him about the Sebi fake parchment thing, and I'm hoping like he took everything that I told him and like sent brought that to jury and is like hyping me up there, and definitely isn't like hyping up Sam and not me. But I thought that was a pretty interesting move to like I can like there's no one else who can claim something like that at FTC where like I got to talk to a juror and then come back into the game and like influence like that's I thought it was so cool how this game worked out, especially like these few cycles. Like I worried in the moment that I'm like going to switch. I'm like, am I an idiot for switching? Like, am I just gonna regret this? Is this stupid to like swap myself out of it? Because it's pretty stupid. Let's admit. Like,
Yeah.
get your friend gets voted out at your level gets voted out at final seven. You're not supposed to swap with him going into final six. Like, you just don't do it. But I'm just like,
Yeah.
when else am I gonna get the opportunity to do this? And I was just unhappy with my like if I was happier with how the game was going despite that, I probably think if I felt it was workable, I probably would have like I don't know how the problem is I don't know how I'm gonna argue this at FTC because I went to redemption for an episode. I just dipped. I did win the redemption challenge and then I immediately swapped back. So I don't think it hurts me that much. But it's very much
No.
like a I have to rationalize why I did this at FTC. And I've told a lot of people a lot of different things about why I did it. So that, so that's a story I'm gonna have to get straight for Wednesday night. Um, but yeah, I swap. Then Broyle wins immunity. Sam gets the merge idol, idles himself. Flower and Joey and Kevin clock obviously that Sam's gonna idle himself because it was the most obvious self idol of all time. They all vote Dan because Broyle's immune, Sam's idling. There's only Dan left. And then it was a 3-2-1. 3 votes on Dan. Broyle and Sam vote Joey. Dan votes Sam, who idles himself. Dan gets sixth. And what I had done, there was a 30-minute extension to that tribal, so it ended at 5:30 instead of 5. And I was at work, and I wanted to like be at the Redemption Arena because I'm like, this is kind of an important one. Like I was planning on potentially asking Broyle to switch with me, like switch back with me, and I tried to get there at 5, but they got extended to 5:30, and they didn't tell us, they didn't tell Banjo and I, and so I like took a bathroom break at work at like 5 p.m. to like check my phone. I was like 5:09, 5:10 because that's usually when it ends and like redemption opens. And I check it, I'm like it's not there. And I'm like, you can only like take a bathroom break at work for so long before because
Yeah.
and like 5 minutes in, Jess is like, oh, it's delayed to 5:30.
30.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, shit, I don't have like time. And basically, like, I missed the redemption arena, but I did like quickly check my phone and saw that Dan was the boot. And I'm sitting there and I'm like going through like my job at work, and obviously the game's going in my head, and I'm thinking about it, and I was like, huh, Kevin flipped on Dan to vote him out instead of voting out Joey, and I'm thinking about like why would he do that? Like, is that a stupid move? But I'm like, it kind of set up Kevin perfectly for Final Five because the first Final Five was just gonna be Sam. Like, most likely would be Sam wins immunity, Broyle gets voted out because I didn't think Broyle had the idol. So in my mind, I'm
Yeah.
like, Broyle's is gonna be a sit and duck at 5. Then he leaves. Whoever comes back to the game is the returnee. Then at that 5, you flip on Joey. Then at 4, you vote out Flower. And then if Kevin goes to FTC against Sam and the Redemption returnee, I'm like, Kevin has a pretty good chance at FTC. And I'm thinking about that while I'm at work, and I was like, I'm gonna hype up Dan and the Redemption Arena, but I'm not gonna like call him out as being the person who's winning. I'm just gonna be like, I think I see the line. I understand like who the winner is, like now like, the how the game will go. And then I'm like, I don't want to leak it though, because I'm rooting for them. It was like I was like ready to like talk about on Redemption Arena. Like, I was preparing my Redemption Arena messages, and then so I walk into my break at work. I pull out my phone, and I've got a message in my Kevin one-on-one, and I've got a message in my Flower one-on-one, and I've got a message in my Joey one-on-one. And I'm like, why do I have one-on-one messages? And I always scroll up on my phone. I'm like, oh, Broyle switched back with me, put me back into the game after the Dan boot without me asking because I didn't get a chance to ask. 'Cause I didn't get to be in Redemption Arena. I missed that again. That was my one of my biggest regrets about this game is not being able to be at more of the Redemption Arena, like basically public chats where we all got to talk to each other. Because the times I did get to go were pretty fun for those. But yeah, he switches back with me, puts me back into the game, leaves his idol with Sam, with instructions for Sam to give me his idol. I come back into the game. I did the dumbest thing I possibly could have done. I swapped with my loved one at final after Final 7 boot, going into Final 6, and it worked out. I got swapped back in at Final 5. I got handed an idol for free, and I got a built-in endgame ally in Sam, who we finally locked in. We had our enemies to lovers arc, Sam and I. We were never super close on Tadana. Into swap, we had an alliance with Banjo and Joey, but it was like kind of like we locked it in for swap, and then we never talked in that message at merge, other than talking about like football. And then we like through early merge, I blindsided him on the Banjo vote, and then after that, we kind of started locking in. We were like in agreement on all these votes and who we had to vote out, and we were in lockstep the whole way for the rest of the way. And I guess I really locked him in very well there at like when I came back at Final Five because we that's when we started VCing and I VC'd Sam I think 3 or 4 times now later in this game and because I knew I needed to lock Sam in because it was impossible to get Sam out. It was quite literally not possible to get Sam out of the game. You could not place a vote for Sam at any of the tribals in the game, and it wasn't like I don't know. It wasn't like a super strategic like success on his part. He just won every immunity. Like if he doesn't win every immunity, he's not at the end, and like he didn't forge his like own path to the end. Like he didn't really create the exact. I mean, I think this was probably his ideal F3. I just think I shouldn't have been. I guess because we get the first final five. He gives me the idol because I mean, he kind of felt he was like obligated to. Like if he doesn't give me the idol, it was kind of been like a jerk move. Um, so I have that idol. He had used his merge idol, so he didn't have a merge idol at this point. He wins immunity, of course, because he's Sam. And I was thinking through my paths to the end of this, and I'm like sitting at this final five. It's the first final five, so we have a final five vote, then redemption returnee, then another final five vote. Um, me, Sam, not Sam Bro, me, Sam, Flower, Kevin, Joey, final five. I look at that final five and I'm like, the easiest person to vote out, like the easiest person to rationalize voting out is obviously Joey, because he's just Flower right hand man, need to get him out, reduce Flowers, control, blah 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 blah. It would have kind of created a situation where Flower was fucked though, and he didn't want to be like, or like he was a fighter, of course. He's not just gonna let that happen. So he got me in a VC and he started trying to convince me for it not to be Joey. And while that was going on, like he was convinced this whole time that Broyle had the idol. I was convinced the whole time that Broyle did not have the idol. Once the idol was physically put into my hands, it was a harder time pretending not to know who had the idol. And we VC constantly, and so he kind of knows what it sounds like when I'm lying. And I'm a
Yeah.
very bad liar over VC. I don't have a lot of experience with it. So Flower clocks me, and he's like, figures out that I that Broyle had the Galong idol. The fucking Galong idol. I didn't talk about it enough. Every single one of these votes, the Banjo vote, the Max vote, even the fucking Sebi vote, everyone's like, what if he has the Galong idol? What if he idols himself? We need to like. That's why it was always like this blind sides with these minority votes of three because every fucking vote people are like, dude, what if the Galong idol gets played on? And like, what do we do? Like, do we split in case of the Galong? I'm like, I lost my mind over it. I never knew
Yeah.
who had it. Everyone was convinced people had it that didn't have it. Broyle told me he didn't have it and he had it, but eventually I had it. So I had the long idol. It was me. I have it. I don't have to play around it anymore. I am the one who has it.
I am the Galong idol
I
now.
am the Galong idol now. But Flower obviously wants to play around it. And then it was funny. We were in a VC and then he was like, "Oh, I want to go take a bath. I'll be back in like 30 minutes." And he leaves the VC. And I'm just sitting here in my cafe. I'm like, the vibes are off, dude. Like some shit's happening. Like, he's leaving to do something. He's not leaving to just take it, but he's leaving a VC, so he's doing something. I'm like, the vibes are off because what I wanted to do is get through that tribal without playing my idol and tell Sam I was idling, and then hold it, and then have it for the second final five to be guaranteed final four. Um, I wanted it to be once I was kind of convinced of like not doing Joey. I was like, the smartest thing I think is to get Kevin out at that first one because it keeps Flower happy that we're not voting out Joey. Sam was ineligible to be voted, and the only other option was me, so it left Kevin. Sam was okay with voting out Kevin because despite the fact that we were allies in F3, Sam and Kevin actually only voted together once. They voted together at the stairwell boot. They both voted Dan. They voted opposite each other at 10, 9, 8, 7, and 6. There were 5 straight tribals where they did not vote together. And so, like, it was like Flower was so convinced that he would, like, idol Kevin or, like, do something. I'm just like, why would Sam be protecting Kevin at this point? What semblance of like what does he owe Kevin at this point after all those votes? I don't know.
That's just order tweaking at that
I
point, trying
it's
to rationalize anything that doesn't
exactly.
make any
Well,
sense.
Flower had to make everyone perceive things the way that they weren't because if we all had him clocked, then he was fucked. So he was trying.
Yeah.
He can. I'll never blame him for spreading misinformation. But my path to the end, I think, started with Kevin getting voted out in fifth. So it was always Kevin there. Then you get the person to return, and it would either be Banjo or Broyle, most likely. We didn't expect Kevin to win the redemption duel. If you ever go look at those redemption duel results, we were kind of right on that. I love you, Kevin. I love you so much. You're my teddy bear. I actually really regret a lot of the ways that I worked or I like treated Kevin, I guess, on a strategic level this game because we locked in at that final 10 Banjo vote. Like we locked it. He was up to full trust. It was Flower and then it was Kevin. But the problem with me trying to work strategically with Kevin is that my number one was Flower and my number three was Broyle, and my number two Kevin's biggest targets were Flower and Broyle. And so as much as I was like, I want to work with Kevin, I want to make it deep in this game side by side with Kevin, I'm just like, there's no like viable path for us to do that because I need all the people here that he wants gone. And so it became us blindsiding each other back to back to back votes, and then I went to redemption and came back, and then we blindsided him on another vote, and I felt bad really because Joey and Flower like we I guess I'll go back to this. So he clocks that Sam has the auto. He leaves to go do that the bath because during work, Broyle goes back to Redemption Island, wins that duel, gets first place, gets to send the idol clue, sends it to Sam. Of course, I react with a middle finger and the standard. And Sam's like, "Oh, there's a new idol rehidden while I'm at work." And then he was like, "Yeah, the hint actually gave me like a rehidden idol." And so he was talking and he's sending all this stuff in our chat, and I'm like, oh, we can work on an idol hunt when I get home. And then by the time I got back from work, he's like, oh, I got it now. And so Sam got another idol, and so I would think I had been working out these plans the night before of like, if I win Final Five immunity and I have the idol and Sam doesn't have the idol, we can just vote out Sam at five. And then if Sam comes back, it doesn't matter because I beat him at the end now, and we can keep him. But if not, it was like then we also just go like I would just go to the end with like the returnee and Joey was basically my plan. Was like the optimal plan for me because I was like, even returnee and Kevin would have worked, but I would have had it would have been difficult to survive or difficult to get that final four that I wanted there. But in my head, I was like, I think getting Sam out in fifth would be optimal because I think Sam and Flower were like the other two people that had like significant cases at final five other than me. I don't know what how the jury perceived Joey. Maybe they did think he played a good game. In my eyes, he was just the Flower simp, the right hand man who is just an extra vote for him at most of the votes and like didn't like push stuff strategically so much as he kept making he made app like the notes app like FTC predictions of like different like he sent me like me, him and Sam with like who he thought got each person's vote, and like I think I agreed with like maybe like 3 out of the 9 or 3 out of the 8 that he put on there. I'm just like I don't care enough to argue with him on it because I'm just like yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds great. I agree with that, man. I think it'd be a 3-3-3 tie at FTC between us. That's totally right. And then we'll like or it was a no, I think it was a 3-3-2 where Sam got 2 and we each got 3 on his prediction. And it was interesting. But I thought I could beat him at the end. So I wanted him at the end and I knew I could beat the returnee at the end. So that was my ideal. But then Sam wins immunity and finds another idol. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess Sam's making the end now. So then I had to frame it around I'm making the end. Well, I want to make the end. So like my plan involves making the end. Sam's making the end. That's 2 of the final 3 decided. Flower needs to get fourth. That's 3 of the final 4 decided. And so who else do you want there? The obvious pick is the returnee. And so we go to final 5. It was actually kind of split though, because I'm like, I did kind of see the logic of if Broyle comes back, I kind of want to kick him right back out to send him on to jury so that he could be a vote for me at FTC. However, I also didn't realize this is actually going to be a really long recap. We're getting almost to the end of it though.
Yeah,
But
of course.
this is I'm a yapper, dude. This was a more intensive season than the
You
last one. It's a
yapping.
more intensive season than the other one. It has to be a little bit more content. I apologize.
Mm, I mean,
Sorry for creating content for you. I know you're
yeah.
devastated. Um, I really hope it's recording the right thing. I'm gonna double check real quick. Oh, it's not.
God, I hope
Oh my
so.
God, it's not.
No,
It's
you're
actually
you're
not. I'm not kidding. I'm
yeah, you're fucking
not kidding.
lying.
I'm not kidding. It actually hasn't been recording it the whole time. It's been recording my Google Doc. Oh, that's so funny. It's gonna be audio only for the first hour. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Well, hello, welcome to the start of the actual video of
Yeah.
the video retrospective. I'll figure out something to put on the first hour of this. But that's
Just put the
beautiful.
image of
I
you.
didn't just yes.
It's
It's just
that gift
it's
playing
just gonna
over
be
and
the
over.
salute. That's beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so fucking stupid, dude. I'm glad I
Policing.
double checked at least. It would have been the whole. It would have been the
At
entire
least,
thing. So
yeah,
we
at
we
least you
get
can.
we get you get to see it. It's not we get to. It's not completely lost. Anyways,
Holy
hello.
shit.
This is Onder. I'm
Am I
SSR.
on?
No,
This is
I did it.
SF.
I did it right.
So,
You have to gesture the other way.
sorry, this
Yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah. There I am. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Um, but yeah. So as I was saying, um, we needed to get. I was either wanted to get obviously Broil out of 5 or the returnee out of 5 or Joey out of 5, and I was like, if Broil's the returnee at 5, I kind of want if this was all dependent on either me winning Final 5 immunity or Sam giving me the idol, because then I would be guaranteed safe for that Final 5 and be fine. Um, the first Final 5 vote, I don't think I fully explained it. So yeah, there was Joey and Flower trying to convince Kevin to flip onto me while I idle myself to make Sam think that I'm not close with Flower and Joey, to convince him to idle me at Final 5 while we all blindside Broil, which was a good plan for Flower, because it got Flower to Final 4 with me and Joey, and then he could force his way into the end through that Final 4. If Banjo came back, I was like, it makes a lot of sense for me to just take Banjo to FTC because then it's one less FTC vote for Sam. And so I got both plans set up basically, where I had the setup with Sam, where I knew I could get to the end with him and the returnee, and then I had it lined up where everyone was in on the Kevin boot on both sides, even though two people voted me. Like it was Unan without actually being Unan, I guess. And so it left me in the second Final 5 vote where I had the Joey Flower angle if I wanted to take out Broil, and then I had the Sam returnee angle to take out Joey. I didn't fully trust it because we get to that second Final 5 and I'm like, Sam's logical target here should be me because Sam's best FTC in my eyes would have been Joey and the returnee.
Yeah.
And we have the situation that um, he wins immunity again, of course, because it's Sam. And now I asked him to give the idol to me, which like if you're gonna like be locked in with me, surely you'd give me the idol. And he's like, no, I want to play it myself if that's all right. I'm definitely playing it on you though. And
Uh,
the alarm bells start going off. You're like, are you sure? Like, if you wanted me to have it, then just give it to me and like just let me play it because I actually think in hindsight, now thinking about it, playing it publicly on me looks so much worse in my eyes. Because if the jury is perceiving the game how I perceive it, I feel like I see the game correctly. I feel like, and Broyle also did. This is what made me think I was right because my own loved one was the only person who actually wanted to target me at the second Final 5 because Flower and Joey were locked in on voting Broyle and getting the idol played on me. Sam was locked in on voting Joey. Broyle wanted me out. Broyle was like the best path for me if I'm ever gonna have a chance as the returnee is SSR in fifth, Flower at fourth. And so he was trying to push me, but I guess Sam refused to. I don't know if he pushed it to Sam because Sam never said he pitched it to me, and Sam idled me, so like he wasn't lying to me.
yeah.
So I don't know exactly how Broyle tried to pitch me, but I know he talked about it to Joey because Joey told Flower who told me. And I spent that whole Final Five cycle being like, it makes perfect sense for them to be lying, for him to be lying about idling me, to idle Broil and vote me with Broil. Then my vote doesn't matter, whatever. I get voted out. I'm sitting here
Mhm.
like, this is what's probably going to happen. I spent the whole day thinking this was probably going to happen. And I get to like, the deadline's 5 p.m. It's like 4 o'clock. I've been talking a little bit with Sam back and forth, but like the trust tellers are like not fully there. Like I don't feel fully locked in on it. But at like 4:10, 4:15, he asks me to like promise him that I've got his back and that I'm not like going behind his back and voting Broil. And he like asked me like promise him that like an hour to deadline. I'm just like, there would be no need to do this if you were not idling me. Like there
Yeah.
would be no reason to go to that extra level because there's nothing I can do if he's idling Broil and voting me. Like I quite literally have no counterplay. He knows he has the only advantage left in the game. All I have is my vote, and if he has Broil on his side, who's the person pushing me, it doesn't matter what I do. So when he starts asking me that, I'm like, is he actually idling me? Like I'm like in disbelief that this is actually like working, and he's idling me. But I'm like, wait a minute, if that's the case, I've just been saying fuck it, we ball, and I had voted Broil. My vote was in for Broil. And he starts talking to me about this, and he's like, asked me to promise him. And I'm like, I would feel really bad promising this dude something to get him to idle me. And then immediately after he idles me, it's revealed that I didn't do what he asked me to do, and I voted out Broil. Where, like, yeah, I would probably still get Broil's FTC vote, and I probably still get to Final Four over Flower, because you still do it Flower, but it's like, it opens up the door for shenanigans, because Joey would be at Final Four, and Flower has him in his pocket, and he might try to do simple. Because, like, I think he probably wanted to try to force Flower into FTC, if I'm reading the situation right. And basically I talked it out like with myself out loud like right here at 10 minutes to votes locking. It was like 4:50 and I had made both parchments and I'm like I don't know who the fuck I'm voting. And I was thinking through like reasons for voting Broyle gives he's a vote at the end. Actually the one thing that kind of convinced me that I won't admit other than here until FTC or until FTC's over, is that I was on VC with Sam at one point, and I was talking about like almost wishing that Broyle had lost the redemption so he could be on jury like Banjo is to vote me. But he's like, he made a fair point of there's 8 jurors, the vote can tie 4-4, and if it ties 4-4, then the tiebreaker is the third finalist, which would be Broyle.
Yeah.
And so he still technically has an FTC vote, so it didn't actually like fully matter. I just need to get to 4 votes at FTC because I have Broy. Unless he, I mean, I think he would vote me because I really think he wanted me out over Sam, and I think he knows that I played a better game than Sam. And so at that point, I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter whether Joey's on FTC or jury. Either way, he counts as that 5th vote. And because obviously, because if he was at FTC and then like Banjo or something was here, I would just need 5 votes because the tiebreaker vote might not go to me. And so it's kind of works out the same way. And I'm like, well, the easiest way to get to FTC is it being me, Broyle, and Sam against Flower. So it's like the greatest comp beast ever. Someone who I think is top 3 all time in immunity wins in this org. And like me, who I haven't been a pushover. I've been getting second to Sam a lot. And that's basically like winning immunity in this org. Like if you get second and Sam get first, like that should count as a challenge win. Like I don't,
Yeah.
Jess, if you listened, I don't know how long it's been. It's probably been like an hour and a half at this point. But like Jess, if you got this far, like those should count as challenge wins for me when I got second to Sam.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, at like 5 minutes of deadline, I switched my vote to Joey, and it quite literally changed the outcome of tribal because it was a 2-2 without my vote, and I picked who went home. And I had been voting out Royal the whole time. Then I switched to Joey at deadline, and I think that was actually like the most correct move I could have done because I think voting out Broyle would have set up the possibility for Flower to finesse Final Four. And with Joey on FTC, he kind of gave up and was like, you did it. I'll get 4th. Like you played the best game, and he basically like congratulated me after the fact. And I was mad for I actually made the pro move of going to your D&D session and ignoring the game for 3 hours because he was pissed. Because I did
Yeah.
it last minute to him. I told him at 5 p.m. that I was switching and voting to Joey because I switched it last minute, and he was pissed. And for like the first 3 hours, like he would have been like fighting with me if I were talking with him. But I ignored the game to go do D&D, and I came back and he had like cooled down and calmed down, and then he was fine, and it was all good. And we were able to have a nice rational talk. And we actually VC'd last night for most of the night, even though we had known like it was basically if anyone but him wins immunity, he's going home, and if he wins immunity, I'm going home. So we knew we were not making
Yeah.
FTC together, and it was still very much just like we're gonna have fun, we're gonna like talk. It's still a great it's still a great connection. I'm very glad that I got to meet and connect with Flower in this game. It's one of my favorite things I'll take out of this game. But yeah, we get to Final Four. It was the first unanimous vote of the season where everything worked out, and I was still nervous. Like even during the vote reveal, I'm like, what if someone gave Flower fire? I never fully relaxed until I actually saw like the other votes for Flower, and I'm like, we made it. It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years since I've been at an org FTC. I'm back. We made it. I'm happy. I really didn't expect to get here. Like I've been saying it. Like if you've been reading my confessional, I've been dooming for like most of the last two rounds. Like there's no way this actually happens. But somehow, some way, we got just enough support to get here. Looking at FTC, I really haven't gone juror by juror on my own yet. I haven't thought about this FTC too much yet. I haven't thought about my. I've been like kind of like creating my speech in my mind as the season goes on. So I have like some ideas and some lines, but I don't have like a full idea for the speech yet. I guess I only have to do 2,000 words though, so it's almost nice. I was dreading it. I actually have been a hater of the speech length
Yeah.
restriction throughout the season. I've been an open hater of it. But I think I'm actually happier about doing a 2,000 characters character or word. I think it's word.
Hopefully
No,
word. You gotta be
it's character. It's character because it's a Discord message.
seriously.
Yeah, it's just a one non-nitro Discord message is your speech.
Oh wow.
But
I mean,
I think I
that's better than like 26 pages in a podcast.
well,
So
I don't post the. I'm not posting the podcast for FTC. This is for fun. We're enjoying ourselves.
no,
But
I know this is for fun. I'm just, you know what I'm
oh god.
referencing.
Oh
Oh,
god.
the fun.
I'm thinking about how the
But
first hour of this fucking video doesn't have video because I'm an idiot.
I'm telling you,
It's just no.
over
It's
and
just the
over
salute. It's just
again.
the salute. Yeah,
This is so-
it's a salute with like an apology, and
Yeah,
they'll understand it now. But
I
the jury.
understand.
Who's like we go in order. First juror is Max. Max basically publicly said that he would give his vote to whoever got flower out, and we all got flower out together. And I was like, Flowers ride or die. So I don't know if he's gonna take that well or take it poorly or not give a shit about it at all. I don't know where Max is gonna stand because Max has missed like most immersion. I really didn't have any ideas of his perceptions. He had a pretty positive perception of me leaving the game, but I don't know what he's thought of the last season. I don't know what he thought of me fucking switching on to redemption. Like I don't know what people think about my game is the main thing I need to like I guess work around going into FTC where like I don't know what the jurors think about me. I hope they think that I played the better game, but they could very much just see Sam winning all these things and getting all the votes and who knows. But with Max, I don't really have much of a personal connection, but I think we got on pretty well and I think there's a chance I get his vote. I don't know what happens there though. Sebi was basically I don't know. With Sam, I don't know how close he was with Sam. I don't know what he like the first two are probably the biggest question marks for me and Sebi and Max. Where they could kind of go either way. It just depends on what their perceptions are of the game, really. I think Sebi can acknowledge that I had a good like solid grasp on both sides of the game, and I was playing it in a way that got me to the end, even though it didn't connect well with him. And I hope he understands. Like, I hope he thinks that the parchment thing was cool. I hope he's not hurt by that because I thought that was a cool play. Like I
Yeah.
wanted it was like I don't know if I wouldn't call it emotional manipulation. It was just for stairwell. I just wanted to. It was a distraction tactic, if anything. Or I just
Yeah,
wanted to. I wanted to misdirect him with misinformation. Um, hopefully he respects that. Then it's stairwell. I think stairwell votes for me. I thought when stairwell got merge boot, I'm like, well, if I can make it to FTC in a decent spot, I think stairwell will vote for me at the end. If I can, because I think she'll respect the game I played. She'll respect how like that I've made my own moves to get here, and I think we had enough of a connection that she'll be a vote for me. For some reason, in the Sam, Joey, me, FTC, Joey wrote Stairwell as a Sam vote though, and I don't know if that's right or if it's just Joey having that perception, but that's the only Apple Notes FTC I got from him was the fucking Stairwell voting for Sam. So who knows? Maybe he's voting for Sam, but I think she'd vote for me. Um, then it is. Does it go right to Kevin? No, it doesn't. Who's eighth? It's Dan. Dan is eighth. Um, I don't think Dan and Sam had much of a connection at all. Dan had told me a couple times that we need someone to beat Sam in immunity to get him out. Sam told me on his end that they weren't talking very much, and then they voted differently back to back tribals. So I get the sense that they weren't too close to each other. I had a pretty good connection with Dan. I did lie to him on back-to-back votes before I switched with Broyle, and then he went out while I was on Redemption. I didn't vote him out of the game. I did vote for him twice, so I don't think he'll be thrilled about how I played the game personally with him, but like again, it's a situation where I feel like he can see that I played this better than Sam did, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to like framing him idling me at Final Five as like a massive misplay. Because I think that's like my main case over him, in that I should have been the main target at Final Five, and instead of getting the biggest target out at Final Five, he idled them, and
Yeah.
I think that's like I gotta like focus on that basically. Um, Going player by player isn't really helping because I don't know a lot of like their perceptions, but I'll keep doing it anyways. With Kevin, Kevin is gonna be really interesting for this FTC because Kevin and Sam never voted together after the stairwell boot. Kevin and I voted together twice, but then we voted differently 3 times in a row after that. And then I swapped the person he voted out back into the game, and then I swapped back in, and then I voted him out. But Sam also voted him out with me. So we, it's like we both did him dirty. He
Yeah,
tried
you're
to
both
turn
kind
he tried to
of.
turn it around and started doing us dirty. Then we turned it back around and got him out. I think there's a mutual respect there. I don't think it's going to be a fuck you for getting me out of the game kind of thing. I think
Yeah.
he will understand like we were making the moves that we thought got us to the end. He was making the moves that he thought countered that and tried to get him to the end. Um, he's really close with both of us. It'll probably be up in the air unless he has really strong feelings about one of us playing better than the other. I think he's probably up for grabs between the two of us. I don't think either of us are locked out of his vote. It'll be interesting to talk to him and see what he thinks about this game because it's his first org. It's his first time as a juror now, and I really don't know what to expect. But I'm hoping that he'll be open to voting me because I thought we had a really fun connection this game, even though we didn't get to work together as much as I would have liked. Then Banjo is probably voting Sam. I'm not gonna say Banjo's voting for me in any sense because Sam and him like we and Broyle and I like we played the game together. Like we wanted to be allies. We wanted to work together. We wanted to get to the end together. But it was very much a sense of like we're playing this to have fun. We're playing this for ourselves first and foremost, and then we also happen to be like loved ones with each other in the game. If it works out that we get to help out each other and make it to the end, great. If it made sense for him to target me, I wouldn't expect him not to. If it made sense for me to target him, I would have done it. But with Sam and Banjo, it was very much like they wanted to play that game together. Whenever they ended up on the same tribe, it was like they were in lockstep. It was Banjo and Sam. It was not like Banjo playing. It was like they were Banjo and Sam. They were both together. They always voted together. They always strategized together. Like they were locked in. And I mean that's perfectly fine. Like it's a blood versus water org. That's when you do that. But I think very much that Banjo's probably just going to vote Sam. I do think I made solid arguments as to him as to why this FTC was set up well for me while I talked to him on Redemption about a week ago, and hopefully he's sent like what I really hope is that he's mentioned that stuff to jury because if the jury like if he's hyped me up at all to jury, I'd be happy even if he doesn't vote for me because that would be helpful enough in its own right. Uh, then it's Joey. I think Joey votes for me. I think Joey recognizes that I made the better play there and that I should have been the target because he was actually pushing me to Sam at Final Five, even though he was voting Broyle. But like, we obviously had to keep up appearances, so he was voting or telling him that he was voting me and explaining why I would win the game if I don't get fifth and Flower doesn't get fourth. Like it was objectively, I think it was like the correct read. But obviously I got idled, he got voted out. I don't think he's going to be bitter about that. I think he fully understands it. So I really do think that Joey's a vote for me. Then I also think that Flower's going to be a vote for me because he basically told me verbatim that he's a vote for me. We sat on VC last night and he was basically laughing at Sam for idling me. And I mean I don't think it was like an awful decision. Like, it wasn't like blatantly wrong by him there. And there's arguments to be made for him to be a winner over me. But I just think it would have been a way easier to make that argument against Joey and Broyle than it would be against me. And so I think as a result, the people from Final Five are going to recognize that and vote for me. I want to be optimistic here and say I get at least 6 votes. I really do think I deserve to win this game. I think I played the best game out of this F3, and I think I can explain that coherently at FTC. I guess if I'm going to make a prediction, it would be Banjo votes for Sam. Um, do I think Kevin votes for Sam? Or do I think like Max votes for Sam? That doesn't make much sense. if I'm guessing, I think I would guess Banjo votes for Sam, Max votes for Sam. Not Max. Banjo votes for Sam, Kevin votes for Sam. Everyone else votes for me. That'll be my FTC prediction. 6-2-0. SSR first, Sam second, Broil third. Official SSR FTC prediction. Laugh at me.
Official.
Come back and laugh at me when I'm second place and I get no votes, or I'm third place and Broil gets second.
Second to broil.
Oh, that would be miserable. That would. Oh, I would have to retire if I lost. Wait, this would be great if I outplace Broil again and I've been able to outplace it. Oh, that was one of his goals for this season. He'll be mad if I
Oh
outplace him.
no.
Um, honestly, I don't know. I feel like I win these. I feel like we win these. I've never been to an FTC where I felt this confident before, so that's always good. Um, we got little award predictions, and then I think we can wrap this up. Um,
Yeah.
we've been doing this for a little while. We've got. I guess I'm just going off of what season 26 did for awards and just changing those. We have best meme. Now, obviously, best meme. I could be out of the loop on what the best meme was over the course of the season. The two funny ones with me were since Flower forgot to vote at the first tribal, they would always ping us with like late like pings to like reminder to submit a vote for this tribal council because Flower forgot to vote the first time, and so now for every single tribal we got like jump scare ping near the end of it.
Oh
Um,
man.
I think the top contender has to be all the panic about the Galong idol. Like you could make a full I don't know, the collage of all the logs and images of people talking about, well, how do we play about the Galong idol? Who do you think has the Galong idol? Like, where is it? Who has, like, it was every fucking
No.
vote, dude. Um, best tribal is kind of interesting. We had a bunch of, I guess, I don't know, I think the banjo vote was too early to be considered best tribal. It also depends on if you consider, like, the redemption talk afterwards as, like, part of tribal. Because like then I think because I don't think the final seven tribal in itself was that exciting. But if you take that and be like it was the final seven tribal plus me switching with him right afterwards, like that was pretty exciting. But aside from that, I really don't have any like maybe final six because it was like the 3-2-1 with the failed idol play. Maybe it's the second final five because it's me convincing Sam to idol me despite the fact that he probably shouldn't have. I really don't have a strong opinion about best tribal. I'm interested to see what they pick for that. Best alliance. I don't. It's not going to be this F3 like because we actually didn't. We made the alliance of. I told you, Banjo made the alliance of me, Broil, Sam. Um, then we immediately voted out Banjo. There has been one message sent in that alliance since the Banjo boot. Like quite literally a single message. So we did not strategize as an actual F3. We just individually game of telephoned it to get here. Um, I would have think that you could call me and Broil the best alliance because I mean we both swapped with each other and then made FTC. That's probably a decent case. But we also both wanted to vote each other out at Final Five. I don't know. We didn't though, so I guess that probably contributes to it. It could be us. You could say Flower and I. I think Flower and I were a defining alliance of this merge. I think that would be completely reasonable to give it to Flower and I. I would hope that it includes me. I could very well see it not including me because I wasn't involved in a lot of like the major alliances on this season. I was just involved with enough of the key players to sneak my way through. Best rivalry is gonna be Flower and Sam, I think, just because it was like drawn out over so long because no one ever would vote out Flower before four, and it was not possible to vote Sam out of the game. So I think that's easy best rivalry. Class clown, I really, I might be. I wanted. I thought it would be Joey, but Joey was like kind of inactive going into merge. I really don't have a class clown prediction either. Most robbed, I want to give it to Kevin, dude. Kevin was so robbed. Kevin deserves so much better this game, dude. Or Benji. Shout out Benji, dude. Benji for most robbed, my fucking king, dude.
Rest in peace.
rest, rest in peace. I love that man. I hope he's killing it at his new job. He's great. I'll just skip to the big ones and then we can get out of here. Hero of the season. it's I think it's either me or Sam. And I don't really think it should be me, so I think it should be Sam. I think Sam's the hero of the season. It just he was the underdog, even though he won every single challenge because he was left out of so many votes. He voted wrong so many times, but he still persevered and made it through all the way to the end. I think he's a very clear hero, very obvious, like a very like feel good hero. Even though,
Yeah.
and it gets to the end, and he'll definitely get at least one FTC vote. There's no way this is unanimous. Villain of the season. I already put it on his parchment. It's just Flower. There's not even. I mean, you can make me a villain contender. This is the first time I've ever been like somewhat villainous in an org. I've never even been like hinted at as a villain in it. Maybe like the first big Vivor I played, but that's like it in terms of being villainous. Um, best social, best strategic. I really don't know either. It could go to anybody, and I don't really feel like talking on that. Player of the season. I'd love it to be me. I don't think I played like a player of the season worthy game though. I think it's just Flower. Flower voted correctly at quite literally every single merge tribal, except for the one that he forgot to vote, and then the one where he purposely voted me. Up until Final Five, he had known exactly who was going home and could have placed their vote on the person who was going home correctly. At the final two votes, I was able to like finally turn on him and get him out basically. But I think he's just player of the season. There's really not any question in my mind. Wow, this went long. I
Yeah.
I did not expect to go on for this long. I did not expect the recap to take this long, but we did it. We got to FTC. We've recapped
Great.
quite literally everything. Some of it even has video too. I'm fucking dead. We dressed up. We both put on suits. I don't think he put on a tie, but we both put on our suit.
No sleep, no sleep. Yeah,
I
no
don't know how to
sleep.
tie a tie. I know this is a shitty tie, but
Yeah.
I learned how to tie a tie just so it's like somewhat presentable. To put this on, it's tied. It's around my neck.
It's around your neck and there's a knot in
It's
it. I
tied. There's
like
a
to,
knot. It looks tie like.
yeah,
Um,
tie adjacent.
tie adjacent. But yeah. That's my simvivor 27 season. Special thank you to Onder for hanging out, being my emotional support. Um,
Oh,
I'm very appreciative of everyone who's like reacted at my confessionals over the course of the season. Anyone who's like supported me, the hosts especially for putting this season on. It was wonderful to be a player and be able to experience everything that this org had to offer. I've been in the simvivor server since like season 10. I've been here forever and I've never played just because I never like either had the time or the interest. But I'm very glad I got to play this season through all of its twists and turns and mechanics and Galong idols. It was a fun road. I really didn't expect to get here. I didn't think I was ever gonna get back to another FTC ever. But I'm very happy. It's like almost restored my love for orgs in a way. Like I probably will play another org at one point because I'll think back to this game and be like, that game was fun. I really liked playing simvivor. I'll probably play another org. But um, yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you for watching. Any of you who actually makes it all the way to the end of this. And yeah, that's it. Wish me luck at FTC, I guess.